Good morning and good afternoon for all of you. Thank you so much for being connected today in a new session of the Bizagi Process Professor. My name is Kevin Guerrero. If this is the first time that you are joining us in a Bisagi's Process Professor, let me talk a little bit about how the program works, what are the main benefits that you can get from this, and how you can actually take the more of the advantage of the sessions that we will have in here. So first of all, we have launched the Bizagi Process Professor 1 year ago, so in 2021. And our main idea and our main objective for these sessions is that we can provide for our customers, our partners, our employees, and in general, anyone that is interested to know a little bit more about trending topics, how digital automation platforms are working in the market, what happened with the low-code, pro-code, and no-code platforms that are on the market, and to actually provide a space where we can share some ideas, where we can talk once a month. We're having Process Professor once a month. It's the second Thursday of every month. And the idea is that you can just come here and hear some important news and some important trendings that are on the market. And I want to start today's session to talk about manual tasks and repetitive tasks, right? One of the main objectives when we were working on this Bizagi Spring 2022 was to offer to our customers and to the market a solution that allow users, and specifically business users, to reduce the number of manual and repetitive tasks that they have to do on a daily basis, right? We identify that this is painful for a lot of companies, that this is taking a lot of time, a lot of resources, and at the end, it implies also a really high cost. So what we have identified is that this must be a priority. And we take a lot of research, a lot of studies, and a lot of numbers to decide to go to this path. I want to show you just here two important notes that I found to actually highlight the importance and the point that I have here. One is a report done by a company called Zapier. And in this one, what they have identified is that the 94% of all the US knowledge workers surveyed spend some portion of the day performing repetitive, time-consuming work, right? That's the first one. Now, the second one is something from the VP of Gartner, right? Kristen Moyer. And one of the things that he identifies, look, if we are able to take out some of those repetitive tasks and some of those manual tasks from the employees, this is what we got. So I'd say quite often, higher productivity and better bandwidth for an existing employee will result in performing high-value tasks that were not getting done, such as nurturing high-value client relationships. So I want that we analyze these two fronts and these two ideas at the same time. So from one part, we are seeing almost everyone, 94% is almost everyone in companies are doing repetitive and manual work during the daily basics. And on the other hand, we're seeing, look, if we're able to take out that, if we're able to delete or at least decrease in some portion those repetitive and manual tasks and increase the productivity, have more time, better bandwidth, then we're going to focus in things that are going to be much more important for our company and that actually provides much or higher value for us. So this is something that we had in our mind, and we say, okay, we are sure that probably we're not going to be able to eliminate all the manual and repetitive tasks for every single company around the world, but we need to do something to help them to take out some of the ones. And one of the main points that we focus is we identify that probably everyone on a daily basis, one of the first things that every single person do when they sit down in front of their laptops is to start reviewing the emails. And we identify that there are a lot of information in emails and that sometimes people can spend a whole day just answering emails. So that's why we were thinking about how we can actually make within our platform something to actually decrease these manual and repetitive tasks. And one of the things that we have seen also is that the pressure for being agile, for being digital, for having something that works in a much faster way. It's growing every single day. The tendency in the market, it's being agile, being fast, being quick, and this is something that is not stopping. Sometimes even what we have seen is increasing. Market is asking every single time more and more about this one. And one of the things and one of the struggles that companies are having is that they can't keep up with the pace of change. Even if they want to get into this new digitalization and this digital world, they don't have the resources, they don't have the knowledge, or maybe they don't even have the technologies to actually keep the pace. Other companies are facing problems because sometimes or at one day someone say, hey, you know what? Why you don't go and do this in a manual way? And those manual activities, those workarounds that were helpful at the moment, were workarounds that stick in the company for a long time. And they got used to that, and they got used that the manual activities are filling in the gaps. And finally, other of the big problems that companies are having is that independently of the market, independently of the company, companies are facing a lot of business silos, legacy systems and data that are spread across multiple systems, across multiple technologies, and even across multiple areas, department, locations. So what we have seen is that the modernization is the new normal. We need to find a way to add agility into our businesses. And one of the things that we're offering is let's add agility with low-code process orchestration. This is what we do, and this is where we are the best. Now, how can we take also those manual tasks that at some point were added as simple workarounds, as simple to fill the gap at that time, and now how we can make those manual tasks automated to include additional transparency for our processes, more accountability, and even better visibility of the way on how we're working. And finally, we need to find bridges to connect those silos while we initiate long-term modernization efforts. So one of the main reasons why we are creating this Bizagi Spring 2022 is we want to be sure that we can offer to our customers these three main reasons why to choose something as Bizagi: low-code platform, value-driven investment, and partner for success. Today, and with this case, automation case creation from emails, we're focused just in this first one, that is the low-code platform. And in our minds, we want to have a platform that allow our customers to cover every single aspect of the organization. And we want to be this low-code platform, best low-code platform that you can find. And what we're saying is that we want to be powerful, we want to be unified, and we want to be intuitive. So why we consider that being powerful must be important for us? Because at the end, we understand that it doesn't matter the organization where you are working. All the different processes that an organization can have can be completely different. It is completely different, a process that I need for a work group or for a single team compared with a process that I need for the full organization. So what we want to offer is a platform that is powerful across the whole enterprise. It doesn't matter if you are thinking simple workflows or if you are thinking the high-level core processes of your organization. And what we have understand too is that we need to be completely critical and completely smart to identify the needs of every single user, and according to their needs and their knowledge, the proper features to actually accelerate the transformations and the automation within companies. One of the things that we have seen, and this is not us, this is Forrester, Gartner, IDC, all the main analysts in the market are seeing that for sure we are having a shortage of IT technical people, right? We are not having enough. It's not enough. We don't have enough hands to automate everything that must be automated. We don't have enough people with technical knowledge that allow us to go and actually accelerate our automation. So what is the solution that we are seeing? We need to move to rely only on these technical skill level people to try to move a little to the left where we have more people, where we have our business users, where we have our citizen developers, and that if we use and take as an advantage the knowledge that they have of their processes, how the operation works, how many people work, all the data, we, with the proper tools, can actually let them help us to accelerate the automation. So we need something to be powerful about across the enterprise, but at the same time, intuitive according to the type of user that we are working. And on our minds, it was always, we want to be powerful about across the enterprise, and we need to have enterprise class orchestration. Thinking of this is that we have developed a new feature in Bizagi, is how can we help customers to decrease those repetitive and manual tasks, but at the same time, keep in our mind this intuitive and powerful for everyone, and being an enterprise class orchestration. So what we have identified is that if we want to be successful in this automation journey, we need to take into account that we need to unify through orchestration. And when we're talking about the orchestration, it is important for us to highlight that we're not talking about just orchestration of systems or orchestration of technologies. No. To be successful in a digital transformation initiative, we need to have an orchestration of multiple elements, like people, like processes, like systems, like bots, and data. All of these must work together in order to achieve our goal of creating mission-critical apps or enterprise orchestration apps or line business of apps. It doesn't matter how big or how small the app that you want to create it will be, but it is important that you always consider and take into account people, processes, system, bots, and data. So having this idea in our mind is that I am delighted to present the new feature that it was included here, and it is automate case creation from emails using our new feature called triggers and actions. So how triggers and actions are going to work? So our main idea is how can we help our customers to decrease that number of manual and repetitive tasks? We identified that one of the most common repetitive and manual tasks for every single employee within a company is emails. Every single employee enters, turn out the laptop, and probably one of the first things that they are going to do is to open their email. And even though we're going to find important and really relevant information within the emails, we also identified that there are a lot of information that is repetitive, that is copy and paste from one place to the other one. So what we can do to help that? So with this phase, because take into account that this is just the first phase of triggers and actions, what we have added is a new feature that allows you to analyze the detail and the information that you have in an email. What information? What is on the subject? What is on the body? Or who is sending the email? And according to that information, create simple business conditions. And if those conditions are met, we can automatically trigger, we can automatically create a new Bizagi process. So what this is going to do for us, this is going to simplify a lot our lives. This is going to decrease the number of those manual tasks and those repetitive tasks for an employee. And now we are even in a much better position because we are reacting automatically without actually need to have someone checking those emails or copy and paste those emails from one side to the other. Maybe you have heard this feature or this type of behavior when we're talking about RPA technologies, right? Our bots. So if we saw on the market, probably this is one of the most popular bots that we can find. And it is one bot that allows me to read information from an email and then do something. So yes, what we're trying to do is that. How can we offer a function and a feature for our customers that do the same for a bot, but what? With a much less cost. One of the things that we have identified it is that If you want to use RPA technologies within your companies, one of the things that you have to take into account is that you will need to pay really expensive license, right? Some of those licenses can be between, 40 to 60,000 license. You need to pay some time for the infrastructure. Some of them can charge you for having an orchestrator, right? $10,000 or $15,000. And then you need to pay for every single bot that you create. So if you want to have a bot that allows you to read information from an email, probably you will need to pay between 4 and 8,000 for that single bot, right? So, and at the end, it's not only that. At the end, you are adding a new system in your company, a new system in all the environment and all the world of systems and technologies that you have. Probably you will need to spend time learning about that technology. Probably you will need to train some of your employees, and even sometimes you will need to pay some maintenance. So what we're trying to do here is, within our platform, the same platform that you are already used to, let's offer this option, read the information from emails, create cases automatically in Bizagi, and in this way, we simplify those repetitive and manual tasks without any extra charge, right? The way on how it works is this one. So we're going to have Bizagi. Bizagi is going to have a dedicated email inbox, right? Where all those emails that we want to handle and manage with triggers will be received. Bizagi will just go and read the email, validate if the conditions that we have specified and we have defined are met, and if those conditions are met, then we can just go automatically and create a new process. What is the great advantage of having a new process created here? That now, once that the process starts, you have absolutely all the power of Bizagi. So you can send automatic emails, you can connect to external systems, you can do an integration, you can do a notification, you can, you can generate document, whatever you want. Now you have the power and do it there. So let's take this repetitive and manual task associated to reading emails and maybe copy and paste information from one side to the other one, and then let's give all the power to our platform. Some of the main benefits that for sure we're saying it is, we will increase in a really good way the efficiency of our company. The end user productivity will be increased, and we are going to save hours spending of those users analyzing information, right? Sometimes we have seen some of customers that the way on how they operate or the way on how they deal with these situations is they have one single employee fully dedicated to this, and the job of that employee is to copy information from an email and then put it in a different system. So I don't want to have that employee doing that every single day. What if we can give that other task that actually provides more value to me? And additional of that, we're going to decrease the manual errors. If the way on how we are operating is just copy and paste from one place to the other one, unfortunately, errors can appear at some point. The second great benefit of this feature is that we will increase our customer service. Again, if we are going to rely already in full power of our Bizagi, one of the great advantages that we're going to have it here is that as soon as my processes start, we can set up some information within the process to give response immediately to the customer. Imagine that the scenario that we're going to have is that I am requesting, an appointment to do a maintenance of my car, right? Once I send the email, I am expecting to have a response as quickly as it can be. If I am relying on someone that is doing this manually, probably I will have to wait for the next day for the employee to just go and finish all the emails that he has on the queue. If we are relying this with this function of triggers, as soon as I send the email, the process will start, and if that process has a notification, boom, that's it. I will get a notification saying, hey, dear customer, thank you so much for contacting us, blah, 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 blah. And now me as a customer will feel that there is someone there hearing my request, replying really quickly, and that is going to increase my happiness as a customer service, right? And finally, the The last benefit that we're seeing here is definitely the cost saving, right? Again, we want to avoid costs related with technology, with training, with maintenance, with buying a new solution of RPA. At the end, if what you want to do is something as simple as reading information from an email and create a case, you don't need an RPA solution. You can do that directly with our platform. There are a couple of things that we need to consider when we are working with the Bizagi triggers, right? From one part, the first thing that we need to take into account is that, of course, all of these handles and manage SMTP servers, right? The way on how we receive the emails, we send emails, all of that relies on an SMTP server. So it means that once that your environments are created, our cloud operation teams will be working to provide all the infrastructure and everything that you need for your emails to work as expected, right? Here, it is important to highlight that independently, if you are working in a trial or if you are working in an enterprise subscription, you can use this feature of Bizagi triggers. There is just one little change. I will show you on the demo what you have to take into your minds, right? Now, the second consideration is that the way on how the cases are going to be created is using OData. And if you are related with OData, you need to take into account that in order to work, to this to work, and to increase security and to be sure that no one else is going to create a case without any permission, we need to create corresponding OAuth keys, okay? Finally, since the cases are created based on data, right, it implies that every single process that we want to start needs to have an start form, right? And what is this? When we are working in the creation of our processes, usually and most of the time, the beginning of our process is a start event. We can associate forms to those start events. So in that way, when we're creating those processes from external system, we can inject data or inject information directly to those processes, right? And finally, what we have to take into account is that on that inbox, on that email account where we will be receiving the emails, right? And where the triggers will be checking and processing the information, what we need to take into account is that we are going to analyze and we're going to review just the new emails, right? We're not going to reprocess emails over there. And if you are using the option of reply or reply all, those are not considered new emails, so the case creation will not happen on that moment, okay? So this is everything about the feature. This is all the benefits, all the considerations. So now let's go and let's see how this is going to work directly in our platform. So I'm going to show you, first of all, how the triggers configurations needs to occur when we're working directly on our Bizagi Studio. And then I will show you directly some details and some information that we need to take into account when we want to see the triggers in execution and work, okay? So the first thing that we need to take into account is take into account that one of the new features that we have in this Bizagi Spring 2022 is that we can have two profiles when you are working in Bizagi Studio. You can be either a developer or you can be a power user. Depending on the profile that you have, some of the options will be available and some of the options will not be available. So something important to take into account is that in order to use triggers, as this implies some technical details and some technical configurations, triggers is available only when you have the profile of the developer. It means only when you have access to the expert view. So if you have access to the expert view, then you will be able to do the configuration and the use of triggers. Where are we going to find this option? It will be located directly in the external system menu. And once that we are in the external system menu, we're going to have here our triggers. If you see in this moment, we have one, that is the email one. Take into account that, again, this is just the phase one of triggers, and our idea is to add more triggers in the upcoming versions. So how the triggers configuration works here? I can just add a new trigger, and this is going to be the wizard that we have to take into account, right? It's really simple. It doesn't require any code at all, right? And we did it as simple as possible to do the configurations and to change it when it's required. So the first thing that we need to add is just give it a name, right? Then we need to define if we want to use this trigger in development tests or in production environments. And then the domains, right? What is this option of domain? Is from which domains are you expecting to receive emails for the trigger to process? You are going to find some default ones as Outlook or Yahoo or Hotmail, but you can add your own ones, right? So I can just change this one, for example, Bizagi.com, right? And I can just add it over here. And then we're going to have the option to do all the configurations of the conditions, business conditions for the trigger to launch the new process. What kind of options we have? We can manipulate 3 different elements from the email, from, subject, and the body. So I can say if it's an email that comes from, and I can say if it contains, or it has a suffix, or if we have as a prefix, right? Or if it is an email that on the subject contains, I don't know, something like request, right? Or if in the body there is something that also we have there. So we can create these conditions and we can add as many as we want, connecting with logic operators and or. So I can say if the body contains a request and the, let's say, subject contains VIP and is a customer that is a VIP, or something else. And I can just do all the configuration and all the business conditions that I require. Once that my conditions are complete here, I can just click on Save and Next. And my next step is going to be to select the process, which is the process that I want to start if the previous conditions are met. So here I am going to have a list of the available processes. I can select the one that I want, and then I have the option to do the mapping of the data. Again, what is this? Is the option to select information or take information that is available on that email and then send it to the Bizagi process that you are working. So what I have here is that on the left side, I have all the outputs from the email, and on the right side, I have the Bizagi data model. So I can just map the information, just connecting the data over here. Something really important, if your email has attachments, you can even connect those attachments and save those attachments already in your process. So for example, if I am asking or if I am requesting for an appointment to do a maintenance of my car because I had a car accident and I want to send a picture as an attachment, I can take that picture from the email and then send it directly to your Bizagi process. Once that the information that you have here is done, then you can click on Finish and your trigger will be ready to use here. Once that the trigger is ready, the configuration in Bizagi Studio is done. Now, what we have to do, we need to finish the configuration in our work portal. How we are going to do this? So in the Bizagi work portal, the configuration that we need to do is, first, take into account that this is going to create cases via OData. So again, as it is a case that it will be created via OData, I require to have OAuth authentication keys. If I don't have OAuth authentication keys, I will not be able to do the case creation. How can I do these OAuth authentication keys? I can go directly to the admin menu, then to security, and in security, I have actually the OAuth applications that I have authorized. So I can come here. Once that I go here, I am going to be able to create a new OAuth key, and that OAuth key needs to have some specific properties. All these details and all this information are completely explained in detail into our documentation, but in general, it has to have this name, it needs to be a client credential, it needs to have a token of 0. In that way, the keys will never expire. And in that case, we will not have any problems with the information that you have there. Once that the keys are ready, we can start the creation and we can actually start doing the testing. What do we have to take into account to be sure that this is working? So first, there must be one exclusive email, right, that we need to dedicate to receive the emails that the triggers are going to process. And those emails will change, right, depending if you are working in a corresponding enterprise subscription or if you are working in a trial subscription, right? You can use it for both trial and enterprise, but you just need to take into account that there is a little difference. So what is the details that we need to take into account? If I am working in a trial subscription, right, in a trial project, I need to take into account that the email that will receive all that information is this. The name, the username, right, of the user that create the trial, in this case is just Kevin.Guerrero. And then we need to put at triggers and actions / trial.bizagimailer.com. That's the email that we need to send or that we need to use always when we want to have this information. Now, what will happen if I am going to use just one email, or if I am working in a subscription that is not the trial, but it is the enterprise? The email will be the name of your subscription. Let's suppose that in this example, my subscription is just Kevin.Guerrero. And I need to take out all this beginning, this triggers and action trial. I don't need that. It will be just bizagimailer.com, right? And that's it. That it will be the email that I can use when I am using this information, okay? So that's the little detail that you need to take into account according to which is the one that you are using. In this case, I am going to use my trial, so it means I am going to use this email. So what is going to happen now? I can send this email with all this information. And if I go and analyze my Bizagi work portal, I just want that you just take a look here. In total, I have my last case in this moment is this case 155, right? This is the last one that I have created on my inbox. So the way on the trigger is going to work is I am going to send the email to that email address. Once that I send that email, right, the trigger will take some seconds to review if there is any new email on that inbox that meets the condition that we define. And if yes, it is going to start automatically a new case. So I am going to send this one, and I am going to just give a couple seconds here. Once that the trigger processes that email, identify that there is a new email that has those conditions that meet the conditions that we define, a new case will be created directly here. You see now we have this one. This is the 156 has created just a couple minutes ago. And when I go and open that new case, it has all the information that I want. So it came from today. The client email is this one. The subject was this. And this is the whole body of all the email that it was included here. In this example, I didn't add any attachment or anything at all, but if I had attachments, I can map it. And once that I have those attachment mapped, I can even display it here in my corresponding case, right? So if you see, the creation is quickly, it's automatically, it doesn't require any additional intervention. Once that the email that we got on that email inbox has the conditions that we require, the case will be created automatically. In order to provide additional administrative and management options, we have added also for this additional feature, let me just refresh here the page, one way on how you can even see the logs of the execution of these functionalities of triggers. So you know that our cloud environment has this management console, and this management console is where we can control, manage different features of our product. One of the most important is the option to see the trace and logs that different features within the product has. And what we have done is that now in the configuration option, we have added one new full section of triggers and action where we can set up if we want to see the information, the warnings, or the errors. Once that we have enabled that configuration, we can go to the visualization tab, select that we want to see the ones associated with triggers, and once that we have here, we will see the whole log. And what I want that you just see is this one, right? This is called the information of the log that I am working. So if you see here, it say that they have processed one trigger directly and that the trigger has created a new case with the case ID 156. So in this way, we can even have control over what's happening with our triggers. And if something has any error or if something fails, we can come here to do a proper debug and understand much better what's happening and how we can fix it. Okay? So this is everything that I have for you today about triggers.